Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be sharing a super easy way to add detail to your die-cut inked images with Waffle Flower Crafts shading brushes. We are using brand new stamps and dies from the Mama Elephant April 2022 release. This is the absolutely amazing Cactus Builder die set and then the simple blocked messages stamps with coordinating dies. And you can create super quick and easy cards as I'm going to show you here. I have die cut all of my components for my cards from smooth white cardstock, and we're going to start by adding a base color with Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks. I'm going to be using, for the first Cactus combination, Sprout, Fairway, and Field. So it's going to be a light, medium, and dark color combination. The base of my Cactus pieces are going to be the Sprout and Fairway colors, and then the Field color is going to be my darkest color that I add detail to that stitching line on the Cactus. I'm not worried too much about taking the color all the way to the bottom of the die cut, as I'm going to be tucking these into my planter. I'm using Simon Says Stamp blending brushes. You could use a smaller brush for the smaller pieces. I didn't even think to transfer to my other blending brush when I was doing this. And if you want to avoid getting it all over your nails, you could always, of course, leave this in the negative space of your die cut. I would temporarily adhere it with a little washi or something on the back, and that will help keep your fingers out of it. I wasn't too concerned. The ink washes off easily. Using one of the flat shader brushes from Waffle Flower, I am picking up the Field color ink and I am swiping it down those stitching lines. This is the beauty of these shading brushes. There's the more bullet tip, and then there is the flat brush. I'm using flat brushes today. I've shown several videos. I will link to those either down in the description below or at the end of this video, both places, if you want to see how to use the other shading brushes in some fun ways. But this is an incredible way if you want more of a straight style line. You can see I'm just picking up the ink and dragging it down that stitched line. You end up with beautiful shading that is done in minutes. Unlike maybe coloring with Copics or something, this is so super quick and easy. I'm going to go ahead and finish the pieces for my first planter, and then I'm going to show you another way to add detail this way to the planter itself. And I really wanted it to look like a piece of pottery. I was kind of going for the teal, aquas, and dark blues, and then more of a, I hope I achieved a kind of Southwest vibe by stenciling a background. So I'll show you that here in a minute. I did trim down the planter. It's really tall. So if you like to make 5x7 cards, this is going to be an amazing set for you because this will fit like a 5x7 design. I did cut it down a little bit. I trimmed it. Check out, pardon me, the Mama Elephant YouTube channel. I think it was Rena. I hope I'm not incorrect about that, who showed in the intro video for this set how to cut this down. I'm using SEAFOAM and Surf inks on the base of, or the planter itself. And then I'm going to take a little ocean just around the edges, just deepening and darkening that color a bit. Now I'm going to grab the larger shader brush and taking and dipping that into the ocean color, I'm going to start swiping back and forth along the planter. I want this to look like a piece of pottery. And so I want to get that great detail on my planter with this. I'm going to keep going back and forth, and you can just kind of brush over it. I embrace the imperfection just like many planters have on them anyway. I'm going to fill in a couple of areas where I feel like it needs a little more. Do keep in mind that I know the ink looks pretty dark now. You will notice in the finished photos at the beginning and the end of this video that as the ink dries and is absorbed, it will smooth out and it won't be quite as harsh. I am going to go ahead and ink up the tray, or I'm kind of making it like the a contrast color at the bottom of the planter is more what I'm using it as. And I'm inking this with Latte and Mocha. Before I completely put this planter together, I decided to pull some Royal Positively Saturated ink in for a little additional contrast. This is going to give that nice deep dark blue color into my planter as well. So we're just going to swipe that back and forth a little bit a few times to add some darker blue tones into the planter. Okay, we're ready to start putting it together, and then I'm going to show you some finishing details. I also accidentally cross-contaminated my brush, the light blue with the dark blue, but that's okay. I just cleaned it off on a microfiber cloth. This is the DECO Squares stencil from Simon Says Stamp. I looked through my stash for something that kind of gave me a Southwest vibe. I hope I achieved that here. And then I'm simply going to ink through here with some Surf Simon Says Stamp ink. And it's still a little too white for my taste. I'm going to lay my pieces out. I wanted to show you kind of how I come to design conclusions, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and figure out my placement for all of my cactus pieces in my planter. Gives me a little idea of exactly where I'm going. But I do think I will take my blending brush and I'm going to ink over the stencil design with more Surf ink. For a tone-on-tone, a little bit more subtle design. And I like this. I think that it sets the planner off much better and eliminates a little bit of that white. I just felt like it was still a little bit too much of a white background. Now I'm going to assemble my planter. I'm going to try to keep the adhesive away from the top of the design. That way I can tuck the cactus into this here on my card. Now, if you leave the planter the size that it is, remember this is going to fit a 5x7 card, even a slimline, a standard slimline, I think it would fit, which would be really cute as well. I'm going to tuck in my large piece first, and then we're just going to start tucking in all of the additional little pieces here. And I'm probably going to fuss with it like I do. Ink blending is one of the quickest and easiest ways to add color to your die cut pieces to get cards done in a snap. And with these shading brushes, it gives you a lot more detailed results, which I am so in love with. I can't say enough great things about those shading brushes. I know I've demoed them several times, but I absolutely love them. Let's go ahead and place our panel on a white top fold card base, and let's stamp our greeting. The new blocked messages from Mama Elephant are amazing. They have done some of these before where you stamp several sentiments and then die cut them with a single die. There's 4 different groupings. We are going to be using I'm using Remember You're Awesome, Enjoy All the Little Moments, I'm So Happy We Are Friends, and just a little note to say hello. I am using VersaFine Onyx black ink to stamp this to get a nice crisp black die cut. These are going to be the perfect little sentiment strips. And then the die is a single die. It lines up with the stars up at the top. Let me put away my stamp real quick. And then you die cut it and you end up with these great little strips. I don't really keep the stars. They're more for lining up purposes, but you definitely could if you wanted to. So here is that die. You line it up with the stars. I use a little Post-it tape to hold it down and then die cut. So I put some foam adhesive on the back of one of my strips. I am going to pop that right there on my planter. We're going to put a little heart underneath, as always. Although I do think I've had quite a few cards this week that haven't had any hearts on them. And then on a scrap of cardstock, I'm going to take some PEONY Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated ink blend that, or just swipe it onto the cardstock, and then I'm going to die cut the flowers for my cactus. I'm going to adhere these to my card with a little liquid glue. I'm going to use the flowers for the open flower for the first ones, and then I will use the other flowers for the second card. This adds a great little pop of color, as well as finishes off the cactus perfectly. I even think adding some faces to the cactus would be fun. I decided to wrap some twine around the top of my planter for a little added detail. I'm going to wrap this May Arts twine around the top, tie it into a little bow, and I will secure the center with some liquid adhesive to help hold everything down and in place, and I won't have to worry about it coming apart. I'll kind of fuss with the bow a little bit, get it where I want it to go, and then we're going to take some pretty pink Posh, I believe the color is Limeade Pearls, and we are going to finish the center of these flowers with the little limey green pearls. I'm going to grab my little Simon Says Stamp triangle tray to hold those all in place while I'm working. And then using an embellishment wand, I'm going to pick up the pearls and pop those in place. And that is it for our first cactus card. Now, while I had all the supplies out, I decided to go ahead and use the other cactus images. So you get not only these, but you get another sort of cactus. I am going to speed up the video to save a little time, but I decided to go with a more darker blue planter here. I'm using Marine Cadet and Royal Inks from Simon Says Stamp. We will again use the shader brush. I created the exact same background as before, even though I'm using darker blue colors for my planter, and I'm going to go much heavier with the royal blue on my planter this time. You know, I added just a little bit for the first one. And then I'm going to take a little mocha, which is brown, and we are going to swipe that into this. As this dries, I love it more and more. At first I was like, oh, I hope I didn't make a mistake there, but I honestly absolutely loved it. I also accidentally cross-contaminated that blending brush as well, so I wiped that brown ink off my blue brush. Oops, it happens. I'm going to pop out these extra cactus pieces. These have great little cutouts in them to add all that great detail to the cactus, so they're not going to have stitching lines to follow. I also decided to go with a different color combination. We're going to use Spring, Dublin, and Lucky instead of the color combination we used for the first card, just to get a little bit different result. I love it. I used all of the other cactus die cut pieces for this planter. So first we're going to use Spring and Dublin. And then we're going to take Lucky and our green blending brush, and we're going to create our own texture. And again, as always with dye inks, as the ink dries, the results are much, much better. I absolutely love this. I think it adds a lot of character, and I didn't worry too much about perfection, just kind of getting that ink on there. Let's add our planter. Oops, I forgot to pop out those little pieces, so I'm going to do that. And then let's build our cactus. Just like before, we already have all those sentiments. Remember, you get 4 die cut sentiments at a time with the blocked messages. I'm loving it. We're going to go ahead and add our twine first. It was my afterthought on the first card, but now that I know that I love it, I'm just going to go ahead and do that right away for this one. While I had all the supplies out, the second card came together in literally minutes. Gotta love that. We're going to pick one of the sentiments, place some foam adhesive on the back, pop that right in place, add a little heart underneath, add a couple of the little flowers from when we die cut them earlier. I will tell you I lost one of them, so I just went with 2. I decided I didn't need to ink up more cardstock and run it through my die cutting machine again. I searched everywhere. I actually came back, I did most of this on one day and I came back and did this one the second day. And I have no idea where that flower went. Here are my 2 finished cards. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for adding detail with shader brushes to these mama elephant cactus images. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to my Patreon members. If you would like to become a member of Patreon, please click the link in the description below. I would love to see you over there. Here is another video featuring mama elephant supplies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. Click that like button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.